Hello and welcome to this case study in this introductory section of this course, Excellence in Solution Design. So in this, we will take a look at a case study in this lecture of building excellence in solution design. We will bring this whole thing to life. And this is a case study of designing a right solution by first finding out what is the problem to solve and then delivering. So it's just not delivering the solution, but designing the right one. And that is the key role of a solution designer, designing the right solution. So let's take a look at what was happening in this case. So this is a case, name mask, face mask of 32-year-old Ananya, who is a solution design lead at a global services firm. And she is responsible for end-to-end solution design from RFT to releases. And the client is a mid-size omni-channel retailer operating across 4 countries, right? And the business challenges are like the client's view is that our order fulfillment rate is slow, error prone, and expensive, and we want a digital solution. The reality, however, is the client already has multiple systems, and past vendors have delivered solutions that were on time, on budget, but were poorly adopted. So the key issue has been the poor adoption of the solution. And the leadership team warns Ananya that we don't want another technically correct but business useless solution. So we want something that can help us improve the business outcome. So that is the situation. So that before, you know, Ananya got into looking at how to solve this situation, how to use, she decided to define the objectives of the solution design. And the whole thing was to design a business aligned, adoptable, scalable solution that wins the RFP because that where the business was for the company that Ananya was working is priced correctly because pricing is one critical parameter. Then it fits the existing system of the clients and delivers measurable business value. So that those were the solution design objectives that Ananya figured out. Then she used a step-by-step process, and we will go through that as we go forward now. So let's go there. So first step was requirements management, and you will see that being explained as we go forward in the course. And that's where the design actually starts. The challenge there was that RFP lists 120 requirements, many conflicting, large number of requirements mentioned in RFP and many conflicting. And the common mistake earlier people were doing in similar situations were that they were treating all requirements as equal, right? Now, so Ananya's design approach was, she used a design approach. She classified requirements into, few categories like business outcome was, for example, the requirement there was to reduce order delays. Then there are few must-haves, like shipment status accuracy. Few nice to have, like advanced dashboards would be nice to have, but not necessary. There is a few constraints like budget and compliance and few assumptions that users will adopt dashboards, right? So she classified requirements into these categories. And then she asked a very important question. Which requirements drive outcome versus which are just comfort requests, which are just nice to have versus what will make the business results come through? So she asked that question and obviously she got some answers. Then she created an RFP response and designed the pricing, pricing design, design for pricing. Now there, the challenge was that the, client wanted a fixed price, aggressive timeline, and zero scope ambiguity, crystal clear. So what did Ananya do? She designed actions. What action did she take? She broke solution into modules, right? And she gave prices in terms of a core solution, a fixed price, enhancements in terms of options, and also clearly stated design assumptions so that the scope ambiguity was not there. And clearly stated design assumptions as she went along. In terms of, Pricing design, she used a principle that pricing reflects confidence in design clarity. And what were the outcomes? There was a transparent pricing. Client was able to see why they were charging, what they were quoting that they were wanted to. There was reduced commercial risk because of the scope being defined clearly, and there were high trust during evaluation because of the clarity of the scope and the pricing and the built up that happened in building those pricing. So that's what she did in RFP response and pricing design. Third step, once they got the RFP to work ahead, they went into understanding the as is process and systems gap. And there, the challenge was that the client was claiming that our system doesn't work, right? That was the claim. And the design reality, what Ananya found was that ERP works fine. And the problem lies in manual handoffs, delayed data entry, and no ownership clarity. So she was able to figure out where the problem is. And accordingly, she designed the activities of, doing a process walkthrough, walking through the processes to figure out what is fixed, what is needs to be fixed, pain point mapping, and the system process gap analysis is a very important part of the solution designer's work. So she figured those out. And what she found was that, the areas, the gaps existed in order intake was duplicate entry. In warehouse, there were late confirmations. And in reporting, there were lagging indicators. So she knew now what to fix in terms of processes and what to do in terms of her design. And the design insight that is there for all of us is that, don't design for system alone, design for the workflow. Look at the processes improvement that also needs to be done, the compatibility between the processes and the system. And that is a key role of a solution design. Then she mapped and enhanced, looked at enhancing the solution. Now, the key design question was like, what should we change, what should we retain, and what should we augment? So after doing the solution mapping, she figured out that we can retain the existing MRP. She figured out that you need to enhance the decision rules so that the decisions are done faster. They could add automation at head of point so that the delayed handoff doesn't happen. And there's a minimize user effort so the user adoption happens. So she figured out in solution mapping what to keep and what to enhance, right? And she explicitly documented what the solution will not do and why certain requests were deferred. And here, the design principle for us is a good solution stays no clearly and early so that it is clear between you and your client what the solution will deliver and what it will not. The fifth step was to look at the product implementation timeline design. Instead of, one big bang delivery, she decided to phase it out. And there were three interesting phases. First thing was to stabilize operation. It was not an internal phasing. It was when the solution will be implemented and the operational will get stabilized. So everyone can see that. And client can see that operations are stabilizing. The second phase was to improve predictability of the system and the new workflows. And the third was to then optimize the cost of whole operation. And the timeline, as you see, is tied to business milestone, not the task of the project. And something that we all can learn here is that timeline should tell a real value story, not a task list. So that's how she designed the timeline for the product implementation. Then she built, tested, and released and provided the oversight for the build, test, and release phase. Now, Ananya stayed involved in the whole project. She didn't say that, "Now my work is over, let me move on." She stayed on with that because she had the commitment to deliver the results, right? So she stayed involved to ensure that what is built matches the design intent. So oversight on the building process. Then testing validated business scenario, just not the functions. And the release notes explained what changed and how behavior would change. And she authored a solution design write-up, covering business problem, design choices, trade-offs, and expected outcome. So that was what she did in this phase of building, testing, and releasing the solution. Then she also did maintenance and solution metrics reporting. She used the principle of design for measurement. She defined design success matrices upfront. And what were these? These were like, for business, order cycle time, because that was the key focus of the business. Adoption was a key issue. So how do you measure adoption? By feature usage. Operationally, should reduce effort, manual effort, and leadership was interested in ROI trend. And these matrices were reviewed monthly with leadership. And what we can learn here is that if you don't measure the outcomes, you didn't design it, you guessed it. So design for the matrices and then measure them as you design and build and implement and release. Right. So what was the final outcome? So they won the RFP against large competitors, obviously, right? The solution was adopted across the region, which was the key challenge, which was the key problem. And there was 30% reduction in order delays, and leadership requested expansion now. And the client feedback was this is the first solution that fits how we work. So Aditya was able to design a solution that won not only RFP, but also fitted with how the client works. So there was a happy, satisfied client in this whole process. So what are the core lessons in solution design excellence? You know, first that requirements are interpreted, not copied. We need to put our minds in understanding them and confirming them. Second, pricing is a part of the solution design. You need to price, you need to design so that you can price it transparently. And as is understanding is important because it prevents the to be failure. And design is about the fit, not the features. It doesn't matter how many features you give, but it's about how does it fit with the current workflow of the client. And the timelines communicate value. So you need to find out the timelines that can be measured and that provide value to the client. And measurement validates the design quality. So these are some core lessons in solution design excellence. So what is the ultimate solution design truth? Architecture builds systems, right? But solution design builds confidence. So that's the key, but architecture is still fuzzy. It doesn't touch the customer's business while it is designed for that purpose. But what is the core in meeting customer requirement is the solution design. So what do we do next? So in the next, we get on by looking at how do you build excellence in solution designs, and we will define this excellence and then get on to see how you can build that excellence in your working as a solution designer. So thank you so much for watching this introductory case study. I hope you're beginning to learn new things, beginning to enjoy. And I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need to.